I started earlier again. I used to start at 2 all the time. And then with the nature of like my meetings and the way all that's been going, I kept having to push back. And I have never changed my schedule to reflect the later time because I've always wanted to, like intended to go back to being a little earlier. And yeah, I've been able to very recently. Very recently. How dare you change your times? Well, I used to start at the same time on the dot every day. And then when I started to do more work, the problem is that everyone's PST. This is the problem. So they're like not able to even start meetings until 2 hours prior to now. Meanwhile, I'm up for at least 5 hours, you know? And it's pissing me off. And I think we have to blow up the West Coast is what I'm thinking. I actually think we have to get Godzilla out here, force the people to flee east because I'm getting pissed, you know? I want a 10 a.m. meeting, dude. EST. Or I end stream and I'm like, what about late night? And they're like, I don't work late night. And I'm like, well, I fucking do. So you're gonna stay up till 1 a.m. I work in their afternoon through like the second chunk of their workday, more than half of it. So yeah, the PSTers are f***ing up my flow, dude. F***ing up my flow. All your business people are on the West Coast. What is there that the East Coast doesn't have? Nothing. There's no point to being there. There's so much East Coast that isn't even built up yet to live on that is perfectly fine. But I work constantly. I don't really have non-work hours, so, you know. Why'd y'all rush to the other coast? You ever heard of the gold rush? You ever heard of that? It's literally called the gold rush. East Coast got built up, and then there was all this free land for the taking that totally was not occupied by anybody, certainly not. And that's what everyone was told. And they were like, oh my God, tons of land that I could just have with gold in it? I'm going. And then they went there and they got there and they're like, yes, there's no one here anymore, you know, and then they took the land and that was, you know, and then they had their wonderful happy ever after kind of thing. And it was a great, wonderful story. I guess if you're doing work in or with Asia, it's good to be on the West Coast. But if you're not, I much prefer East Coast because personally, being able to do business with those in the EU easily is really good for a lot of industries. You just gotta be like on the East Coast. Because if you're PST, they don't want to have meetings with your ass. You ever work with anyone in the EU when work hours are over? Done. Clocked out. Unreachable. It's wonderful. It's how it should be. And I'm going to be real with you. A good number of people on the East Coast like that too. I'd say East Coast has a lot more in common with European culture than West Coast for sure, especially in work culture. People in New York don't play around, you know what I mean? Anytime I'm East Coast, it feels like West Coast, but angry and cold. I don't know why people say angry, because I'm like, it's just, I think everyone's happier here. That's just me. I actually think everyone's happier on the East Coast than the West Coast. West Coast, everyone's got fucking like ChatGPT psychosis and they're all freaking the fuck out all the time. And they're like, we're happier because we look happier in pictures. And I'm like, yeah, you got all fake teeth and, you know, you got like that scary veneers. You're all on Instagram every 3 seconds in comparison. And then on the East Coast, I see people like outside talking, you know? I see people playing bocce. You ever see people play bocce on the West Coast? Fuck no. Only rich people, and they do it for the gram, you know what I'm saying? But then East Coast, I see people outside actually playing bocce for, you know, human enjoyment, which is crazy. Now, my view is skewed because New York specifically, but I've lived everywhere on the East Coast and you know, I just feel like people are chilling more. And then anytime for work I had to go West Coast, everyone was like freaking the fuck out all the time. At least that was my interpretation, except for the people that lived on the beach. The ones that were like permanently hanging out on the beach, they were happier. But that was like it. Lived everywhere on the East Coast, every single town, every city, every single one. Pacific Northwest slander is heinous. I thought the Pacific Northwest was cool. It's just separated from what people think of typically. I think in California, everyone's more stressed. I think Pacific Northwest is way more chill in comparison, for sure. It's the East Coast of the West Coast, you could say. It's... You know what I mean? No, if I had to live West Coast, I'd be Pacific Northwest. I would not live in California. Yeah, you said hold on, I scrolled. So my partner's from the West Coast and says everyone on the East Coast is angry. I don't get it either. It's just what you're used to. Especially it's where you are raised. I found that as an East Coaster, a Northeasterner specifically, I would talk to people on the West Coast and they would get the wrong impression from what I was saying. And I was like, this is to the point where we have 2 separate interpretations of English here and people are not realizing that that's what it is. We have different interpretations of tone based on region. straight up. In a way, a dialect would be different with different words. We have different interpretation of tone. And then people be like, you're so angry. And I'm like, how about we speak differently entirely and we need to, refactor our brains to thinking about it like that,